the Recreation Coordinator. And I suspect that job went to Bemiller? Mm-hmm. How did that, tell me, I mean, I've told the story from my perspective. From your perspective, how did that all play out?
Well, I was getting the applications, and since and still am, a nutty Buffalo Bills fan, and I had season tickets when Al Bemiller was playing with Jack Kemp.
Yeah, 60s, yeah.
Goes back a few years. It was in the 60s. And I said, Al Bemiller, my goodness, I was surprised to see the application, and he talked about his background and his app, which, of course, I knew about his professional football back. But he also owned apparently a very nice restaurant and bar in the Hamburg district, which is close to the Buffalo Bills stadium. So we talked, the guy invited him in. He was interested. Didn't really have a background in working with the disabled or recreation services. So I was disappointed. I thought maybe he had a special interest or something. But he didn't have that. But he did express an interest in trying it out. And so parted company. And I knew, of course, that you were a major sports fan and historical as well. So I remember you coming down the hall, and I said, I'm going to let Greg know this. So I told you about it. And you said something to the effect of, hire him. May not have been quite as strongly spoken as that. And I said, oh boy, a board member wants me. So I mean, obviously I would have gone further than that, but I figured, hey, I was interested.
Sure.
You were very interested. So that's how we wound up hiring him. And it worked for a while.
But he would show up late, and it was awkward. And Bruce finally had the job, I think, of telling him thanks, but no
Yes,
thank
he
you.
did.
Well, one time Mike hired an employee without my knowledge, and he worked at the Dunkirk facility. He happened to be a retired pro football player. So I started getting some complaints about his work up there, and I went back to Mike, and I said, this guy's got to go. We have to terminate him. And he says, okay, you fire him. I said, wait a minute. I said, you're the one that hired him. Why should I have to go fire him? He says, boss, employee. Boss, employee. Do we need to go to the blackboard? I said, no. So I went up and terminated him. Well, then, we're not going to show this on camera here. Somebody gave me a plaque. This plaque is, this is like 40 years old. He gave me this plaque, and it says, Bruce, you go fire so-and-so. And I've had this for 40 years, waiting to throw this in your face. Here it is. And you're not getting it back, because I checked. And this card, this football card, is worth about $125,000 right now.
I was afraid this would come up. Funny you should say that. Because we talked about that. He interviewed me. I said, only once in all my years of relationship with the Resource Center, and certainly Mike, because I was close, did I ever exercise employment rights. Only once. And that was Al Bemiller. And I told the story about somehow he knew that he had lost his job as athletic director at a high school, something. And I said, it'd be great to have him here, because that will introduce us to all the Buffalo Bills. We'll have golf tournaments. We'll do all that stuff. So he did. And even Brummagem yesterday, and through all the vague history of the fog of history, said, you, Greg Peterson, Al Bemiller, came out of nowhere. So I was fearful of this today. I didn't know where that card ended up. Yours. It's where appropriately it's yours, yeah.
Where'd you get it?
I had it. It was out of my collection. But we had an event, and it was at Moonbrook.
Yes, it was.
And I don't know what it was for.
Me neither.
But I was an MC, and for whatever reason, I thought, this is going to be a good gag gift at my expense. I mean, I'm the guy that's going to take fall on the sword on this. I said, I didn't know, I didn't recall the details of who I ended up getting it to, but now we know. The mystery is solved, and God darn it, little did I realize in that brown bag. I thought it was donuts, Thought he was going to provide
I just
stuff.
found that a little while ago, and it was cracking me up.
Yeah, hang on to that. That's priceless. That'll change your estate planning. A question that you expected me to ask you that I haven't yet?
No, I expected to go over that plaque, though.
Yikes. I opened the door. That'll be my legacy, Al Bemiller. Subsequent, just an aside, many years later, you fired him, and he was in Dunkirk at an event honoring Van Miller. And so Al Bemiller was there, and I was there early.
Really?
And I interviewed Al. I said, you don't remember me, but in the old days of the Resource Center, the floating floor, the pontoon boat, the houseboat, and all of those stories. And he just lit up like a Cheshire cat, about some of the crazy stories. And the houseboat being one of them.
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't necessarily want to repeat the story, but I have on a couple of times now about when we took the board out on the houseboat. We had a board meeting. And short story, Captain Al, he had the hat, and we had all the food, and it was a beer keg, and it was a board meeting. We were going to have a board meeting on the Chattacoin on the boat. And we all launch off of the Gren dock there.
Yeah.
And, of course, he couldn't get the motor started. And we're floating towards the 6th Street Bridge. And there was a little degree of, I don't want to say panic, but concern that somehow we were not going to get started. And it somehow hit the bridge, kind of, it would be a moment. So there was Caprino and Trousseau and all those guys. And, but it did. It finally got started. And that's all we did was really just go around in circles.
Who was driving?
Al.
Huh?
Al Bemiller.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, Captain Al. That was during that time period before you fired him.
Okay. I can't remember that.
Yeah. Well, that was good, just as well. Well, thank you, Bruce.
Oh,
This has
you're
been
welcome.
great.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for bringing
And,
the remembrance.
Keeping this.
Yeah, I would too. That's invaluable. And it's got a story behind it.